Tipene is my name, and I'm one of the 7 trustees of the Ngāti Hine Forestry Trust, acting in the position of chair. Being raised in Mototau and on our papakainga te hurihanga, when I was about 11 or 12, I was sitting at the table, and my mum, who had the shares in what was to become the Ngāti Hine Forestry Trust, was debating with our dad whether she should put her shares into an amalgamated trust. And she was saying things like, I think it'll be a good idea because it'll provide employment into the future and economic sovereignty for the likes of Pita, who's sitting here having his boil up. And our dad was saying, I'm not so sure about those pines. Environmentally, they may not go with the land and the waterways. But eventually, our mother made the choice to have her shares as part of the amalgamation, what is now known as the H2B Mototau block, commonly known as the Ngāti Hine Forestry Trust. So she, along with many others, made that decision. Funnily enough, all these years later, I'm now sitting as one of the trustees, one of the custodians of that very land. Many of the things that our mother may have thought at the time certainly haven't come to pass here as I sit here and speak, but I think certainly the potential is there for her aspirations and the aspirations of the many people who did amalgamate their blocks to happen. The owners of what were small blocks, in some cases quite larger blocks within the H2B Whenua, weren't able to pay their rates, so they were at risk of losing their land to council. So in an effort to safeguard the whenua, they did bring them together. They decided to put it into pine. Fast forward to when I became a trustee a little bit later on, and we realized that it was quite a passive governance model of us almost watching pine trees grow, pine trees that belong to somebody else, to people who leased the land, the companies, who would eventually harvest the pine and take it away as logs. Here we are now in 2022, and as trustees we've decided to diversify into manuka honey, so going away from pine and not having all of our eggs in one basket. So it's fine to take the whenua back to native, but how are you going to generate income? So we've looked and we've already planted a whole lot of manuka, otherwise known in Ngāti Hine as kahi katoa, to provide a nursery crop for other natives, but also provide income through manuka honey or manuka oil or any other derivatives of manuka. Sometimes there is a real impatience by our shareholders, but what we're really clear about is that there's no silver bullet to any of this. You have to really grow it slowly, surely and incrementally to make sure that it's built on solid foundations, because there's a number of narratives from around the country about how some land trusts have gone belly up, and we don't want to be one of those. I think a good trustee really needs to be absolutely fully committed and have the time to fully commit, because if a trustee can't commit, and that's much more than attending meetings, it's about attending all the meetings in between, doing the paperwork, because if there's not a real dedication and a passion towards the kaupapa, it's really not going to happen. And you can bring all of your technical skills, which are needed, call it aptitude, but really it's attitude that I think really makes a good trustee. And so that's on an individual basis. On a collective basis, it's about asking the right questions and having the debate and the discussion and bringing a perspective that brings about collective wisdom on the decisions. And what we call kia horo te ata haere, or we want to move with urgency, be clear about the vision, but be very, very clear about how you're going to get there and work together.